The US and UK love their football, but of course they're going to do it differently. And if you go and see both in person, you're going to get drastically different experiences. But before you start, we're not talking about the rules, we're not talking about the game itself, we're not even talking about the fact that Americans insist on using their hands in a game of football. Hi everyone, I'm Jack, and we're talking about some of the huge differences I've noticed when I've gone to watch these games live. To start, I want to talk about what is possibly the best thing you may get a chance to do if you go to an American football game, and that is tailgating. While it's quite common in the UK to go get a couple of rounds into the pub before kickoff, this isn't the same in the US. Don't get me wrong, I love the pub, but tailgating is just this entire experience you get to be involved with. If you have friends going to the game or can get yourself an invite, go to a tailgate party. And for those of you that are unaware of what tailgating is, it's basically where you hold a barbecue in the parking lot of whatever stadium you're at with friends and family. People just drop the tailgates to their truck, pull out the coolers full of beer, fire up the grill, and you just can't beat it. Not to mention, you then get to avoid paying those extortionate prices for food inside the stadium. And as we've already mentioned tailgating and the pub, this leads us on nicely to talking about drinking alcohol at the game. The big difference here is where you can drink. The US is fortunate here where they can actually buy beer and other drinks inside the stadium and actually take them back to their seats. Yeah, that's right UK, America can actually buy beer and drink it while watching the game. This might sound simple and obvious to our US friends, but most leagues in the UK have actually banned fans from drinking in sight of the pitch, or more simply, drinking in the stands. Don't worry yourself too much though, you can still get a cold one in the stadium bars. This might sound crazy and unnecessary, but stay with me here because I'll explain why it really isn't later. With this lack of alcohol, you may also clock onto something else, the amount of security along the pitch. This may be one of the most visually striking differences with just how much security is present at football games in the UK. And this can vary from stewards lining the pitch to police on horseback riding around the outside of the stadium. Now of course American football has security as well, but it's just how much there is that makes the difference here. A lot of this is down to trying to stop crap people from throwing stuff onto the field or running around naked. You know, standard stuff. And while there's always going to be a couple of bad apples in every audience, having completely different audience sections isn't really a thing in the US, but when you compare that to something like the Premier League, it's immediately evident as you can see the distinct team colours separated to either side. Also, in America they're quite happy to sell seats to anyone that's willing to pay for them, and there's nothing really in place to stop someone buying a particular ticket. Now I don't believe there's any laws in the UK demanding home and away sections, but clubs have a number of tricks they employ to try and ensure the complete separation of these two supporter groups. This can include anything from separate stadium bars to completely different entrances and exits, and apparently even includes tricks like not showing you certain available seats depending on what address you put in when you tried to buy the ticket. If you're sitting there wondering why all this is necessary, well you can pretty much point your finger at one group of people, and that's football hooligans. Yep, that special breed of people that caused, and in many ways continue to cause, a lot of football's problems. I'm sure a lot of this makes sense now, as most of these restrictions were put in place to try and deter antisocial behaviour that was being exacerbated by these groups. If you want to understand more about hooligans and how they've affected football, then check out movies like The Football Factory or Green Street Hooligans. Another thing that will absolutely affect your enjoyment is commercial breaks. In European football, they don't exist. You get completely uninterrupted play for both halves, with the only commercials happening at halftime. But you better enjoy that while it lasts, because you certainly won't get that with American football, where play can stop every few minutes for a commercial break. And if you're anything like me, you'll just become frustrated and eventually descend into madness as the pace of the game is constantly being interrupted. There is a slight upside to this, however, and that comes in the form of halftime shows. Now this is where the US really shines, and it puts a lot of effort to entertaining the audience during halftime. In the UK, this is a chance to use the bathroom or slam a pint, but in the US they have an eclectic mix of things to help keep you engaged. You could see anything from dancing colour guard and flipping cheerleaders to brass bands, and at games like the Super Bowl you might even get a free mini concert as well. Now because I'm sure someone will have commented on the video, and because I couldn't help myself, You'll also need to know that all of the rules for the games are different, and if you want a good starting point, then you should at least use your feet. But seriously, if you're interested in learning more useful things about the US, then you should probably check out this video.